Right here in Las Vegas with Reverend Sifu Baugh. First question would be, what's your martial arts background?
Started in 1964 with Ark Wong, and started in the Southern style of Kung Fu before the Kung Fu craze, you might say. So I was very lucky at that particular time. Also studied a style called Sikadan, which is Philippine foot fighting, and did those for years, but actually with very small groups. And when Bruce Lee came out, that made the style got very, very popular, and the school got very crowded. And I started looking at other schools. But at the time that Bruce Lee made the movie Enter the Dragon, I met Shakin, who played Mr. Han, or the bad guy. And I noticed for his age, he was in the 70s at the time, and he moved very well. And I asked him his secret. He told me if I want to stay young and healthy, to switch to Northern style. So at that particular time, I started looking for schools, and I came across Sifu Kam and Sifu Ken Huey of the Northern schools, and started studying with that in that particular Kung Fu craze. But the thing that happened before that, actually, also in the early 70s, being young, had a very bad temper, and met my teacher, Sifu Carl Totten, who was also one of my teachers, insisted that I go to Tai Chi class to try to calm me down a little bit with my bad temper, and did that. It kind of hated it at the time because it was kind of slow. It was very, very slow, and I thought this is for old people. But got a whole different respect for it, especially now. But glad he did that, and it did kind of help meeting Marshall Ho, who was a very enthusiastic, great teacher. Kind of different from Kung Fu teachers who were very stern and strict, and he was kind of a happy, made things enjoyable type teaching. So, and actually my training would kind of mixed up like in all different things, because I would actually study. I was such a fanatic, I would actually go to every Kung Fu teacher that I had the possibility of going to at the time. Also met, during that period in the 70s, also met Master Shi with the Xingyi school, and started getting involved in internal arts in that particular tradition. And started learning some Bagua from him, and the Xingyi and his version of Tai Chi, or his application of Tai Chi forms.
Wasn't that the Golden School, Golden Xingyi?
It was called the Golden Dragon.
Golden Dragon, right. Yeah.
But again, I started with Ark Wong. He was my very first teacher, and I learned a lot of stuff. I guess that particular period from the late 60s to the 70s is kind of referred to as the golden era. An interview with my son and he did an interview it's on YouTube, and he said that my dad was lucky enough to grow up in the golden era, and it's kind of true, because I'm coming with James Liu and Albert. They come to school, and they said, that was a great time. Everything was kind of open then, and things were starting. The doors were starting to open, and so I studied praying mantis with Sifu Kam, and liked that, and especially liked it to me because it was more practical. Today, when people practice the martial arts, mostly for the hobby, or they see they're fantasized by video games. And growing up in South Central Los Angeles, to me, it was a necessity. And I had to learn something because it was just kind of dangerous going down the street, especially in my old neighborhood. When guys told me when they came back from Vietnam that they were more scared in our neighborhood than they were being a point man in Vietnam. It was more dangerous. So I had to learn something. So my training, and the students said they noticed that when I moved, they said your moves look a little more like you're going to kill somebody. I said, well, that's good. My method of training back then it's quite a bit different than today's method.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
But today I still do that. I find my interest for the internal arts have grown considerably. Praying mantis, I still do this because it's still easy to do. Northern Shaolin, the body doesn't quite respond like it used to. I don't like jumping up in the air anymore.
Yeah.
I find myself kind of doing my Southern styles a little bit more again. I started a 35 and over class, which has gotten to be very, very large. It's like the baby boomers. I was trying to find a name for it. I said baby boomers kung fu. No, that sounds corny.
Yeah.
So I call it over 35 class, and basically I teach them Southern style because there's not a lot of jumping. When I was a young guy, there's like high kicks and all the rolling on the floor and jumping in the air. That was very exciting. But again, I only weighed 135 pounds.
Right. Yeah, it was a lot easier to do back in the day.
Yeah, well now I'm carrying 205 pounds, so it's like, not a lot harder to jump up in the air. And I remember with Ricardo, I used to try to. My whole goal was to try to kick the basketball net.
Right.
Never got it. Got pretty high though. Now I'm lucky to get halfway up the basketball. Just not as light on my feet as I used to be.
Yeah, that happens. I remember that well, trying to kick up, and I remember doing a jump kick in the studio and Sifu camera. Like, well, you can't reach that, so I had to try a little bit more and get up there to get that ceiling kick going. So, okay, that's better. Yeah, I don't like to do that much these days.
But I learned a lot of things too. Do a lot of research still to this day, and I'm finding that some of the stretches that we used to do back then, like bouncing stretch, and all of a sudden they told us not to do that. Now they're saying for baby boomers, that's the way we're supposed to do it. Because a typical example, I have a student, the acupuncture doctor. She's a yoga practitioner, very flexible. But she came out the other day limping real bad. So I was carrying some stuff and I slipped. I said, "Did you fall?" She goes, "No, I just jerked myself." And I thought, that's exactly what he was talking about. Is dynamic stretching is like when we get older, our moves or accidents are dynamic moves. They're not soft type moves.
Right.
So or we climb up the stairs. That's a dynamic move. Our flexibility. So this is the guy that's you saw him in a magazine between the two chairs, and he I went on his website and he's talking about dynamic stretching. You see, like Taekwondo, they do dynamic stretching, and they're the most flexible people I've ever seen. But he said you just can't do ballistics. He said what happened with people are going overboard and doing it too hard, and they were ripping things. And I've introduced that to my senior class, the front and the back leg, and actually big improvement on their flexibility.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I mean, in less than 2 months. People who just couldn't even get their legs up there, like, bringing them up.
Oh, okay. That's something to try with some of my classes.
Yeah, because I have a lot of my senior classes are pretty good size. But Kung Fu, I don't know if what more you want to say. I just then I started with Arc Wong, and it was good. The 5 animal system was fine, but very 70s. When you see the movement, and everything was like Gordon Liu style. Like now it's different. But I tried teaching both styles here in the school, but the northern style is what everybody likes. The young people just takes off. They just like the jumping in the air and kind of things more.
It looks impressive. It looks flashy.
Yeah.
That's why the wushu is so popular.
It's actually not popular here in Vegas.
Oh, really?
Because you have the wushu schools here, we have the mixed martial arts schools, and we're like right in the middle. Because we still do the sparring.
Okay, so you got a good blend of them.
Yeah,
that's good. So, what's your Chan, your Zen background?
Oh, my Chan background. Well, that's really kind of interesting. When I moved here, and people say, well, Vegas is kind of like the dark side, and I could say, well, I knew that it's got to be yin and yang. It's got to have very spiritual people here. And in fact, here in Vegas, I've met some of the most real spiritual people. Like in Cali, like in Los Angeles, meet spiritual people, and you get to really know them. They're not really that spiritual. It's all facade. But here, I met a lady who was actually the first Chan person to be ordained in Chan in China after the war. Her name's Emma, and she has a website. What's called the Shuyun HBO Zen Order of Shuyun. And I met her, and I wanted to learn more about it. I just happened to come. She actually came to have a book printed in the company I was doing printing, and had a yin and yang symbol. She goes, "No, that before?" I said, "Yeah, I do." She said, "Well, tell me." And I started telling her. She goes, "Very good, young man." And we just started talking. I saw her book. It was called Shuyun, or Teachings of Shuyun, Teachings and Poetry of Shuyun. And he's a very famous Chan master. Have you heard of him? Shuyun.
I think I saw his website at some place or another. The name sounds familiar.
And he's supposed to be a very famous Chan master, and had a very strong Taoist background, which is different than some of the other Chan school. And first I didn't want. She wanted to actually come to her house, and we'd talk a little bit. And she was interested in Buddhism, and I wanted to see how to do with martial arts, the comparison. So I decided I went over there, and we started talking. That was really, really different than what I first imagined. It was pretty, so down to earth, and some of the basic teachings he was talking about. It was very open-minded, at least that version. And we go, and I would go there like once a week. We'd have these like sittings that we do. We talk, and she showed me how to meditate, different methods of meditation, and the history of China, how it got into China, and where it came from, all the way from India to China. And she said, "I got people who are going to go for a board." And she said, "You know a lot about this, more than I thought you would know." She said, "We're going to have a testing for some of the guys who want to go get ordained up in Hawaii and live there for a while." She said, "Would you be interested?" She said, "Yeah, I'll give it a shot." She said, "Yeah, try it." So I went there, and there was 5 people, and they asked me questions in Buddhism and stuff like that, and the sound of one hand clapping, that kind of stuff. And it's so funny because she asked, "What's the sound of one hand clapping?" I looked at her. She goes, if you slap me, I'll call the cops. I said, wow, you read my mind, because that's exactly what came to my head, you know. That's exactly what came to my head. It's like, so she had the thing, and then it became a couple of days. She said, we're going to, the people who pass are going to go get ordained in Hawaii and actually stay there for a few months. And would you like to go? I said, sure. She said, by the way, on the test, you finished on top of everybody. I said, really? She said, like, everybody was here, and you were like here. And some of your answers and what you did. I just have this thing when I feel sometimes. I think, you know me. I just say it.
Right.
And
which is supposed to be the truth. You're not thinking about it.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
And in fact, the one thing you were talking about, the Korean guy in Los Angeles, or the Korean Zen, and he came to do a Zen teaching here. And I'm just not a big fan of koans. It's not for me. It's not that it won't help other people, but it's not. To me, I think koans are good for people who are too intellectual, kind of like zap their head up. And I was sitting there, and I just wanted to do the sitting. And he gives me this koan. And I said, I don't want a koan. He goes, well, I'm going to give you this one. I don't want to. He's like, something about like the cloud flying by. So that's cool. We just sat there looking at each other. Okay, I'm going to give you another one. So we're doing it. And he gave me another one. He starts talking about it. I look at him, and he's just like, well, what do you think? I said, actually, I just don't give a shit. I said, I'm not going to waste my time thinking about something that's not going to finish. And he just starts cracking. He said, okay, go back out. And this time, this happened before I went to Hawaii. Then I went to Hawaii and shaved my head and did the ceremony with him over there. I stayed over there. First thing I noticed that the Chan Buddhism was quite a bit different. When I went to visit one in Los Angeles, we had a lot of Zen in Gardena. There's a lot of temples. There's a big one there, and there's another small one. And I remember I wanted to learn more, so I went over there, and they had you put the white gi on, and everybody had to be strange, and you meditate, and everybody had to sit. And I remember I always had trouble with my knees from martial arts, and they had a guy with a stick, and I remember he'd come around. If you start falling asleep, he hit you with that stick, and it didn't hurt, but it scared the hell out of you, especially if you hit the guy next to you. It's like it made me jump, And so it was like everything was like so neat. The Japanese style, everything was like in sets of line.
That's the Japanese.
Yeah, and the way they did it.
Right.
So I go to Hawaii, and the first thing I know, they had the little like they have a funny like. You sit on it, but you don't sit back all the way. You can sit on these weird, strange benches, but very comfortable, very, very comfortable. And you can sit there a long time on those benches. And I go over there, and first thing I know is everybody has different colored uniforms. Like, I had orange. I had this ugly red, peach one. I said I wanted a cool color, but they gave me the stupid color. That was a martial artist. I didn't want this color, but they gave me that with the socks, and it was kind of very orderly type thing. They gave me a little room which was about this size and had a bed and like a picture, and that's it. That's all you can have. And so I go for the first sitting at nighttime, and I go inside, and at first everybody's just sitting all over the place. It was like I thought strange. Everybody's wearing different colored robes.
Oh, right.
Different colored clothes.
The Japanese order.
Yeah, and I thought, wow, this is so weird. So we're sitting down, and we're looking, and all of a sudden I saw one of the elder monks start doing one of those head bobbing things, like he was falling asleep. And I thought that's weird. And I saw the guy hit the guy with the stick. He was standing on the side, and he looks. It's so funny because he looks. He's checking him out. Then he goes in the other room. I thought, well, okay, this is a higher end monk. Maybe he's going to get a bigger stick or something, So he comes back to the room, and he had a pillow, and he gave him a pillow. And I thought, wow, that's like really different. That's really cool. And because the guy was tired, he told him to just lay down a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So it was so different.
Yeah,
the whole idea was more kickback.
Right.
I stayed there for a couple months. I was bored to death. It was really cool at first. You got to meditate. And mostly they don't give you a lot of things. They just like to sit there and meditate. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to do something. Then they told me, one thing they told me is, say, to help your mind, make a pair of shoes. And I'm such a rebel. It's like, I don't want to make a pair of shoes. I'll make a kwando in my mind. So that's it. So, building a kwando, see yourself making it, and going on this stuff. And Emma goes, in fact, my nickname there they gave me was a mad monk, because I said I was contradicting everything. Just my personality. In fact, any one of the other seniors go, "Oh, you're crazy. You're mad. You're crazy." So, but he liked me,
right?
And
it's the rebel.
Yeah, it's a rebel. And in fact, the vegetarian part, they had the vegetarian there, and I was having trouble with that. Being Mexican and native, I just had that. I want to eat some meat. And I always thought about sneaking off in the temple, because you could sneak out or go to the 7-Eleven that had everything. But they had a lot of temples there, which was really cool. they had like the Zen temples and everything there. And I remember this guy, we put a hat on and then changed our clothes, and me and another guy, an American guy, we'd sneak down and just get away sometimes. Because basically we'd meditate most of the day, and we had our ritual. We got up in the morning, the guy do the gong, you know, we had breakfast. Everything's like, you have to eat everything, you have to hold the bowl a certain way. And that was kind of cool. It was real interesting at first, but it started getting really boring after a while. When somebody would drive up, it was like, wow, I got guests, and I speak English, speak to them, you know. It's like, I was really excited. And this is a no meat. I did really good, but Emma could tell me. She says, "You're such a rebel. They told you had to eat meat. You probably would have been a great vegetarian." She said, "You're just so rebellious." You know.
Right.
Okay. And I just like to do. Even the monks, when they asked me, I told them, "Man, I just miss meat." And some of the monks they had that were so sweet. They're just really good people. They're not like other temples I went to. It's like, you know, there's like a female temple here, and it's like, and even in Hawaii, and it's like they're so mean. I said, you guys need to get laid or something, you know? You're so damn grumpy, and they get all really pissed off then, you know? And but these guys were so sweet. In fact, they were like, one of the guys, he told me, "What do you miss about meat?" And I said, "I miss the taste." He said, "What do you want?" I said, "Kalua pig." So he made me this tofu kalua pig, and it was so good. And I could say, "You're lying. This is meat." And he goes, "Oh no." So I just joking with the guy, you know. He went out and got all the boxes of the tofu to show me. You know?
He shows you, right?
Yeah, I was just kidding, you know. And actually, when Shuyan passed away, my teacher Jiden, passed away. His picture's in the temple. He was supposedly the first person from China the first Buddhist or first Chan or Zen temple in the United States. He'd opened up in the 1930s in Hawaii, and it's a beautiful monastery. It's a beautiful monastery. It's got the temple downstairs, and it's got temple place, but it's a monastery. And when I first went to meet him, you know, I was walking. They told me, "Oh, you meet him," and I was all nervous and everything. And he said, "He's going to ordain you." And actually, I just like I went to Shaolin Temple now. There's like 36 generations. And from what he is from Damo, he's actually like 31. So I'm like a 32 under him, which is kind of weird because when we had some Zen monks came here from New York. You know, they had this picture of Shu Yun, and the teacher, he says, "See this gentleman here? It's like on his right." He goes, "This is our great grand teacher." So we're like this generation. I said, "You see the person standing next to Shu Yun on his left side?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "That's my teacher." And they're like, "Whoa, what?" What? They like freaked them out. It freaked them out. But you know, when I went to meet him, his English was very broken considering he'd been in the United States so long. But I went up to meet him, and it's like he read my mind. He told me my life. He told me everything. It's like I was talking, and he just looked at me. And you talk about that mirror thing, and he just had it. And man, and when we talked, it was just like me and him, and nothing else existed. I mean, it was just remarkable person. And we were talking, and we'd have our conversation, our daily conversation. And he was like the story, like everybody was like a true master. He was able to just make that, wow, just like really deep. Right. Then finally he told me, "You need to go back to the States," he said, "because of your nationality." He says, "You could talk to all the people of all the different colors, and they will listen to you." And plus, what I used to go down there, I used to practice my own kung fu downstairs. And he saw me, and I used to teach. He had me teaching Tai Chi because Andrew Lum used to teach here before, but they had a falling out. And Andrew Lum, he just wanted more money. He's just very money oriented. So I was down there, and he had me teaching the Tai Chi to people when they would come in on the weekends of Saturday and Sunday. So we just kind of led the group. And told me I need to go back to the mainland. He said, "You know a way of bringing this all together?" Because I tried to find the connection if it was still there, and it wasn't there. It's just completely separated. You know, because even now I still a rebel. We had a monk come in from Texas, and this one guy here, and they were talking about it, and he saw me doing this, and I said I use Buddhism here at the school to kind of help young people understand Buddhism without shoving it in their face. It's kind of like coming to the side door. And one of the monks told me, he said, "Well, this is useless. You don't need this because our bodies are just rags." I said, the seventh patriarch brought that up. Then he started saying stuff. I said, "Well, what if he was wrong? What if everybody's following the wrong guy?" Well, he didn't like that. He was like blasphemy. I said, because Damo was a warrior, and all the guys before that were warriors. I said, Shakyamuni was from a clan. warrior class. I said, what if the seventh, because he was just lazy and nobody else, he told you don't have to practice. And he's like really mad. So I got like ostracized for that whole lineage, you know. They still do that because, in fact, even in our particular tradition, the Shuyan, there's two different sects now. And I got kicked out of the one because the guy was Steve, and they decided they're going to put him in charge of all the American, the non-Chinese monks. Okay, and he came to visit me, and boy, the guy just was on this high horse, like I'm in charge of all the things, and it was like she was so ego-based guy, and in fact he still runs the old Shuyan order thing, and he came. He told me at the old school, you can't have this here. You need to get rid of this. You need to get rid of the weapons. And I said, no, this is my school.
Right.
He said, well, I'm in charge of all the monks. I said, well, I can kick your ass. He got so mad, he walked out.
That's great.
Yeah. So I guess, I'm not like that with all the other monks when they come through. It's like, because some guys have good hearts. Some guys you can feel, they're really legit. The thing about here in the Lohan order, because Emma told me to start another order. She said, because you're so rebellious, you need to start and try to connect back with the original thing. Well, I found out that the Michang school of Buddhism was actually in the Shaolin Temple first, and that's the one that when Damo came, they ostracized, they got rid of it, basically. And not because of the beliefs, actually got rid of it because of the political connection with them. Because they were actually in competition with the Taoists. Because they did the same like magical things the Taoists would say, the feng shuis and stuff like that. So they were basically kicked out, and the Chan school was kind of like the most non-political. Because even the politicians, when you were there, they always got burnt because of politics. In fact, when I got ordained, that's one of the things I vowed, I can't get involved in politics. Okay, but she had me start the Lohan order. She said, try to find the original source of Buddhism. Follow your heart when you're students. And so I invite the Theravadins here, the Chens, the Zens, all the different countries, and like the Tibetans, all of them. Anybody who wants to come here to teach. Because even though like Kempo said, somebody asked me, what's his base? I said, no, it's open for everybody. Anybody who come here who wants to teach, free. They could, any donations they could keep. The Kung Fu and the Lion Dance runs the school. They keep the business going.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
And so I teach the Buddhism with the kids. We teach the meditation, like Jeff out there. The Chinese lion dance is basically very Taoist, but he said the highest power is the Buddhism because it teaches you, it takes you out of the yin and yang, which is always in confrontation, and puts you a place of peace. He's even teaching that to the kids nowadays, and that's what I want to do. I teach these kids Buddhism and Taoism, basic philosophy, without having to again shove it down their throats. This is. Right. They, like the Zen, if they want to come to the Chan school or the Chan stuff or meditation, it's up to them. Sometimes they do it on their own. They go in there, they meditate, they do sitting, they go in there, they sit by themselves and to quiet their minds if they're having a tough time. And just go and just sit here. Okay. Or if they're having a real tough time with life, I have them go sit at the graveyard in the morning. Tell them spend the whole day there, and they come back, they change. It's
really?
Wow, you see, life is short. They changed their whole perspective. One of my best teaching techniques. I just came out of nowhere.
Okay. Well, that's good. Right. That was my next question was, how do you relate your Chan teachings to your Kung Fu and the mixture in there, and how do you pass that on to your students, or if you do, or do you keep it totally separate unless they ask about it?
Yeah, usually I do. You find like yourself with the Kung Fu forms. The Kung Fu forms put you in a sense of euphoria, and that especially helps because the trouble is, the monkey mind. And I think that the meditation groups, the Theravadins, the Chan group, not the Chan groups, all the Mahayanas and the Vajrayanas, the idea is just teach different methods of emptying that monkey mind or getting rid of the excessive baggage. And the standing meditation does the same. And the more I explore the history and everything, I'm finding you actually have the Buddhist symbols in the form, like this is swastika.
Right.
When they do that swastika, and all these symbols, like the some of the footwork inside of there are like there's certain patterns of Buddhism, like even the 8 directions and things that you do. It's all Buddhism kind of the remnants, especially like, we do this in number 6.
Right.
That makes totally no sense in fighting.
But right.
But to ward off demons, that's one of the symbols they would make. So in the beginning, when you're fighting, you're doing that against somebody, you're like, he's the demon, and you're just casting them off.
Okay.
So I'm looking at this research, I'm thinking, wow, all this stuff is like, it relates back to Buddhism, especially the esoteric schools, because a little more of that, the Vajrapani and these other guys. They were so prevalent in the Shaolin temples. You could see that when you go back there.
Those hidden symbolism that are in there still carried on, but kind of like the Filipinos hiding the eskrima in the dance.
Right.
It's still there, right?
And so, a lot of that I'll show the students, certain symbols. I even explain the certain symbols, what they mean, and they're okay, but I try to handle it gently because, especially like my school, the Filipinos, they'll have a strong Catholic background. And so you don't want to frighten them off, but you want to see, I could tell them the similarities are something that's going to put you forward. Because the last thing I want to do is change anybody's belief system. And I always tell them, you got to look at Buddhism more like a philosophy, how you can live the way you want to live or try to understand things the way you need to understand. Because I don't think Buddha ever meant for a religion to have Buddhism as a religion. I always tell people, when he says follow in his footsteps, that's what he's talking about more than anything. And so I have them do the forms, especially the ones that have too active a mind. And then when they're able to relax, then we're able to go do meditation quite a bit. I'll do a standing one when we start. And the standing one is always just to try to get them to focus on what they're going to do. Focus on their practice. After the end is to let things go. I have one called Holding Up the World that I learned in a monastery. They taught me this, holding up. And I like the teacher do the standing, and he goes, it's not so heavy, is it? Holding up the world. I said, yeah. Because it's our job, the Lohan job in martial arts, always to protect. Protect. And so I always tell them, our job is to help serve mankind. That's the greatest thing you can do in any tradition. Well, you see, like the history is supposedly, all the traditions have their own history of Buddhism. And one thing about being open-minded, you don't have to take everything as exacting per se.
Right.
And you're able to say, okay,
so literal.
You could say, okay, I like this part, I like this part. Like the Theravadas are great for emptying or trying to purify your mind. But they don't help people a lot. Where the Mahayana school, they're very good at helping other people. The problem with some of the traditions is the boat story. When you walk across, you leave the boat there so somebody else can use it. Don't carry the boat with you. But sometimes if you're going to be a teacher, you need to carry that boat with you, because what are you going to teach if you don't do that? And I think that's where some things got lost. So, I started investigating the Vajrayana traditions, which have some of that. But, of course, a lot of that is influenced by the Bon and influenced by the Bon tradition and influenced by, they said, Buddha's 30 years plus, where he started introducing the Hindu tradition back, that particular belief system back. Because he never wanted, I believe, he never wanted to change religion. He just wanted to supplement or make you understand what you need to believe, your faith. And that's where I think the chant is so important, or that meditation is so important.
Right.
Well, I do it with my students, and it helps them a lot. It helps them with their practice. I do it myself. I find, like in Chinese New Year's, which is extremely stressful. Like I said, I haven't had a single day off yet since like the second week in January. And some of the days, a lot of our days, and all of February, we're starting at my day will start at literally 6 o'clock in the morning and go to 10, 11 o'clock at night, no stop. I'm talking about lion dance, demonstration, meet with casino people, all this.
Okay.
And plus I do a lot of work with the community. I do like the gang awareness program and the Nevada Youth Alliance. So, my days are like really super busy.
Very busy. Right.
And my way to practice is the base right now is like working on the yard before I come here. Which, like, yesterday I couldn't move because I already did it the day before. Like, yesterday I'm not used to picking and shoveling.
Okay, yeah. Well, that makes sense, and that's probably why your school is surviving, and everybody seems so. The chi here is so good because you're always out helping, and bringing in that chi, that good karma, coming back from what you put out.
Right.
And I think that also what you were saying about the Buddha not really setting out to start a religion per se, but just to get people to open up their mind and think for themselves more. It's the same thing think, the basic teachings of Jesus.
Right.
You know, it's
Jesus' real teachings.
Exactly. His real teaching, not the stuff that everybody wants to shove down everyone's throat.
Well, most of that teaching, I always tell people, cause when I was especially in hospice, I go, so what religion are you? It doesn't matter. And they say, what are they? I'm Christian and this like this. They're telling me they are. And I said, and they're trying to convert me and stuff like that. And they'll tell me stuff. I said, there's the teachings of Jesus or the teachings of Moses. It's what's in the New Testament. Those are the teachings of Moses. Those aren't the teachings of Jesus. So I used to go back with that all the time. And then they would ask me, what about forgiveness? I said, well, I think forgiveness is not a good thing. I said, well, what do you mean? I said, because you see it with mafioso in these movies and stuff like that. They'll kill somebody because they're going to go to confession, or somebody will cheat on their wife because they're going to go to confession. They always have that, well, I'm going to get forgiveness.
An escape clause.
Yes, exactly. And then where the Buddha said, if you're responsible every single moment, you don't have to ask for forgiveness.
Right.
Because there's no escape clause inside of it. You need to do the right thing now. And that's what my teacher told me. You need to do the right thing now, and not, going into the forgiveness thing.
Yeah. Right. Chopping someone's head off and then,
like the escape clause. That's what he said. That's perfect.
Escape clause. Yeah. Exactly. Good point. So, last thing, what's some advice that you would give to your students or someone seeking a path with either Chan or Kung Fu?
Well, the first thing I tell them is that, and cause a lot of students, they come to me for that spiritual advice. And I always said, first of all, I said, you need to understand what your faith is. But in Buddhism, what I'm going to tell you right now is don't lock yourself into a particular belief system because I'm Christian. I said, perfect example, I tell them, you know who influenced me? They said, who? I said, two people into going and searching out religion. I said, Charlie Manson and Jerry Falwell. They said, but they're Christian. How you they like confused? I said, Charlie Manson, I explained to him, I said, because he used the Bible to completely justify his murders. He was completely right. If he was rich and wealthy, he would have got away. But if he was poor, he got nailed. And then I remember when I was looking at the trial and stuff like that, and then I'm turning TV and Jerry Falwell's on, and I'm thinking, he's saying the exact same thing that Charlie Manson said. He's trying to influence. He's changing parts of the Bible. He's not taking out. He said, if you follow the path of Jesus, you'll be a rich man. But he told you the other part, that you'll be a rich man in spiritual beliefs in heaven. It has nothing to do with money. He's making us like money. So you need to send me money because the church is going this. And it's like, oh, my goodness, he's doing the same thing. And he's just as bad. Starving people or sending his money, eating dog food because, they're sending him everything they've got. So he's no different than Charlie Manson. He might as well be killing these people.
Yeah, that's true.
So I said, I told myself, I am not going to listen to these people anymore. I'm going to go out and search myself. And when I started going into Buddhism, and I have to say, my caution, I tell the kids, you got to be very careful from scriptures from the Buddha to go into an Asian and then come back. Because I said they think different than us. And their characters, it's like, I show them that Ren out there. I said, look at this character, his arm and the heart. It's a nice tag. The heart Ren. That means to stay there. And I tell a Chinese person, show me this word. They show me. It's like, that means take a knife and stick your heart somewhere. We say endure, so if we translate endure and not take a knife and stick your heart somewhere. That's a different feel. Because I read what's the one that the Sixth Patriarch did? He said that it really changed his mind. I can't remember off the top of my head. Not the Lotus Sutra? Yeah, I think it was the Lotus Sutra. Not the Lotus Sutra. What's another sutra that's real popular? The Heart Sutra. He read the Heart Sutra and he became enlightened. Just reading, he just woke him up. And I started reading that and I said, I don't get it. So I went to another thing. I started reading it. It's like, wow, this is completely different. I started reading it. It's like, well, okay, this is a little bit better, but I still don't get it. Then I came across, by pure luck, translation from Pali into English. And I was like, my God, this is deep. I get it. I mean, that's it, because when it goes into the Chinese language, people interpret it, they're like, okay, this is what it means. It's kind of like, well, when we see an interpretation, it's kind of this, like, I was telling one of the students from Dawn School, hard soft. I said, the character doesn't really mean hard soft, it means avoiding hardness. And you could say hard soft, but it's not really that. It's literally hard soft, but you put them together to avoid hardness. And I said, so if you see the translations, I said, it makes a difference. I'm finding from Pali or Sanskrit into English, which are hard to find, all of a sudden some of the scriptures and stuff that the Buddha was trying to teach are like so down to earth and so clean.
Okay.
You don't have to think like, oh, what was he saying?
You know, one of my China instructors was always saying that the Sifu says that the sutras and all that stuff all the reading is okay, but these are other people's experiences.
Right.
You need to have your own experience. That's what's going to make the difference. That's what's going to make you understand. Not reading about someone else and how they're interpreting it.
Exactly.
It's about how you are interpreting it.
Right. That's why I even tell the guys with the Kung Fu forms. I said, I could show you this moves. I said, but watch. I have the students. I said, show me this move, break it down. Show me a different one. I said, they do completely different. One will do it like a throw, like in the Lohan form. And then one other person would do it as a block, and another person doing it as like this. I mean, literally tossing the person across the room, like an explosive move. And they're like, wow, they go, which one is right? I said, they're all right.
Yeah.
It's each person's interpretation of that move.
Right. I remember when we were in Torrance, and someone came into the school and said, I was watching all you guys, and you all are doing the same thing, but everyone looks different when they're doing it. But if I go to the karate school down the street, everyone looks the same. They all look like the sensei there. But everyone here does the same thing, but they're doing it different. There's a different feeling to it. I say, yeah, because everyone's interpreting it how their understanding of it is. We don't teach this is for this and this block here is for that. We say this could be used this way or it could be used this way. But you need to find your own way to make it work.
Right. I said, show me this move. What do you use it for? I said, it's my blocks. I said, no, I use it for combing my hair.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly.
So, it's like, everybody's interpretation is different. And I see that with the Buddha, a lot of his stuff too. But that's great. That's great. I tell that with the kids when they do this. But the thing that I always teach the teachers, the Tibetan teachers, and sometimes they'll go, why are you teaching martial arts? I don't understand. I said, because these kids have a lot of fire. Once I calm the fire, then they can be taught.
Right.
So I said, right now it's out of control. I said, they don't understand. You can't get past the anger. A lot of anger in young people. Well, we were young. I was full of anger.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because we didn't understand the balance. So we had to, 5 elements speaking, we have to balance that off and not just have all this fire going. So we have to quell the fire a little bit, but you don't want to douse it with the water. You want to kind of move it into something else and let it leach out rather than just extinguish it.
Right.
Because some fire is good, but it needs to be
it's like even Sifu Jeff was telling him, like yesterday, he said, like the 5 elements, he's going over the 5 elements. He says, where the fire might help me, it could destroy you. So the elements have to be adjusted for yourself,
right.
the way you need them. And it's really interesting because he's related to line dance for the kids.
Right. Okay. Well, that's it. That's all the questions I had. That was great. Thanks. That was perfect.